Mr. President, thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you.
And by the way, thank you very much for the shout-out you gave at your press conference about 10 days ago.
That's true, I did. You have treated me very fairly, and I appreciate it.
Did you take much heat for that from the other networks?
No, not really. I think they know it's true. They know what's fair or not, but you have treated me very fairly, and I've been a friend of your show for a long time. Remember those call-ins, right?
For years.
Maybe without those call-ins, somebody else is sitting here.
Let's talk about your speech. You're addressing Congress tonight. You have talked about spending $54 billion in additional money for our military. Senator John McCain has said that is not enough. What's your reaction?
Well, we're going to spend a lot more money on military. We really have to. We have no choice. And a lot of people think it's a tremendous amount of money. It could be actually $30 billion more than that. We're going to upgrade our military very substantially. Remember this, I also am going to get involved in negotiating. We have many planes and boats and ships and everything that we are spending too much money individually on. We're going to get involved in negotiating. We're going to be able to get, I think, a lot more product for a buck. And I'm going to be very, very serious about it. We saved $700 million plus on a F-35 after I got involved. And I have to tell you, Lockheed was terrific. But we saved a lot of money on airplanes, and that number is going to increase very substantially as we keep going. We will be having the greatest military that we ever had by the time I finish.
Mr. President, you'll have the biggest, if tradition means anything, and I know everything's a little bit different these days,
right.
You'll have the biggest audience for a State of the Union-like address this year, bigger than any other year. Having said that, how do you plan on capturing that opportunity for yourself and for your administration?
You know, Brian, all I can do is speak from the heart and say what I want to do. We have a really terrific, I believe, health care plan coming out. We have to understand Obamacare has been a disaster. It's way out of control, doesn't work. We're coming out with a health care plan that I think will be terrific. It'll be very inclusive, and I think it's going to do really what people are wanting it to do. But I'll be talking about that. I'll be talking about the military. I'll be talking about the border. And remember this, on the border and throughout our country, we're getting the bad ones out, the bad people, gang members, drug lords, in some cases murderers.
Has that not been communicated? Do you think that has not been communicated effectively?
I don't think so. No, I don't think it's been. Maybe it's my fault. But, you know, when they show people being taken out, these are people that are, we're looking at the bad ones. And I said that from day one. I said from the day I'm president, we're getting rid of the bad ones. And a lot of people understand it. I can tell you the communities where we're removing people that are really trouble and really frightening to a lot of the people that live there, those communities are very, very happy.
Sure. Mr. President, you're going to spend $54 billion at least more on the military, and the people who in our audience like that love this, and you've said you're going to do that all along. You're going to make big spending cuts at the EPA and State Department. Where's the money come from?
Well,
because it doesn't seem, if you cut all the money from EPA and all the money from state, that's about $50 billion.
Well, I think the money's going to come from a revved up economy. I mean, you look at the kind of numbers we're doing. We were probably GDP of a little more than 1%. And if I can get that up to 3 or maybe more, we have a whole different ballgame. It's a whole different ballgame. And that's what we're looking to do.
But to get the economy going, you got to get the Affordable Care Act replaced and repealed, and then you got to do something about taxes. And how close are we to either of those?
Right. We're going to be doing things having to do with other countries because we're treated very, very unfairly. When we help them, even militarily, we're going to ask for a form of reimbursement, which right now, I mean, we have countries where we're taking care of their military. We're not being reimbursed, and they're wealthy countries. We have a lot of things happening, but we're going to get the numbers way up, and we're going to get jobs back in our country. You see what I've done. Ford has announced, General Motors, Fiat has announced. They're all building big plants. They're all coming back into the United States. They were fleeing. They were fleeing our country. And you mentioned EPA. We have right now, I call it the veins of the country. We have right now hundreds and hundreds of massive deals that are tied up with environmental protection. When they are, Scott Pruitt, who's terrific, just got approved, but when he gets going, those projects are going to be freed up and they're going to be sailing. And you're talking about thousands and millions, actually, of jobs.
You ran on jobs. You ran on draining the swamp. You ran on repealing and replacing Obamacare. When do you start to put pressure on Congress, the swamp, to get something done to repeal and to replace?
Well, I think that Paul Ryan and his whole group have been terrific. I just left Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell. And, you know, Paul's working very hard. You know, healthcare is a very complex subject. If you do this, it affects 9 different things. If you do that, it affects 15 different things. I think we have a great plan, and I think Congress is absolutely taking a lot of blame, but it's not their fault. Don't forget, I've only been here for like 4 weeks. Somebody said, he hasn't done healthcare. They've been working on healthcare for 30 years. I've only been here for, what is this, my 5th week? And we're set to propose a plan, and I'll be talking about it, as you know, tonight. But we're all set to do a plan, and I think it's going to be something that's going to be really respected. And you take a look at what's going on with the stock market. Trillions of dollars of value have been created since I won the election. I mean, trillions. No, I mean, the stock market's very enthused, and that's jobs.
But I just have to bring back 2 things in your cabinet. You have an OMB director, finally. He said you have to take an axe to entitlements. Your Treasury Secretary says we're not touching it. Who's right?
Well, I'll tell you who's right. If the economy sails, then I'm right, because I said I'm not touching Social Security.
So your OMB is wrong?
I'm not saying anybody's wrong. I'm just saying this. If we, and I think this is what's going to happen, Brian, I think our country's going to sail.
Mr. President, you announced via Twitter the other day you're not going to go to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. How come?
Well, I am not a hypocrite, and I haven't been treated properly, and that's okay, which is fine. You know, let everybody treat me.
Some of the left say you just can't take it.
Maybe we'll have a small, oh, no, do they say that? No. Well, I've taken it. Do you know, one of the great misconceptions, when President Obama was up, was it now, a long time ago, 5 years ago or whatever, I loved that evening. I had the greatest time. I was there.
You were the target of
I was the target.
You were the piñata.
And can I be honest? I had the greatest time. Now, I can't act like I'm thrilled because they're telling jokes. I mean, he was telling jokes. I'm going to change the name of the White House to Trump House and other things. And he was I thought he did a good job, and he was very respectful. It was fun. And I enjoyed it. And I left, and I told the press, they were all said, did you have a good time? I said it was fantastic. The next day I read Donald Trump felt terrible about the evening. I loved the evening. I had a great time.
You said before, I could take hits when it's justified.
Correct,
right?
100%.
Can you give me an example of a time when someone was critical of you and you thought to yourself, I deserve that hit. I deserve that column.
No,
I deserve
probably
that.
I could never do that. I could probably never. I'm not going to give you any ideas.
No, but
I'm not going to give you any ideas.
Do you ever think to yourself, wow, I kind of screwed that up. I kind of deserved that hit.
Yeah, sure. And you know what, honestly, if I do that, if that does happen, and if I take a hit, I won't give you any additional ammunition. But over the years, you make a mistake. I fully understand when they hit you. But when they make stories up, when they create sources, because I believe that sometimes they don't have sources. You know, the sources don't exist. And sometimes they do exist. I'm not saying all sources, but I believe that a lot of the sources are made up. A lot of the stories are made up. I believe a lot of the stories are pure fiction. They just pull it out of air. I just thought, in light of the fact of fake news and all of the other things that we're talking about now, I thought it would be inappropriate that
Too cozy?
No, not too cozy. I think that, look, I have great respect for the press. I have great respect for reporters and the whole profession. Now, with all of that being said, I just thought it would be better if I didn't do the dinner. That doesn't mean I'm not going to do it next year, but I just thought it would be better if I didn't do that.
Mr. President, the Oscar Awards, Jimmy Kimmel, he was tweeting, he was saying some crude comments. He insinuated, at least, that you were racist. What's your response?
Well, look, you know, it just seems the other side, whenever they are losing badly, they always pull out the race card. And I've watched it for years. I've watched it against Ronald Reagan. I've watched it against so many other people. And they always like pulling out the race card. The fact is, I did pretty well, much better than past people in the Republican Party in the recent election, having to do with Hispanics, having to do with African Americans. Did pretty well, or I wouldn't be sitting here. I mean, if I didn't get numbers that were at least as good or better, I wouldn't be sitting here.
You don't take it personal?
I can't, because I consider it a very serious violation when they say it, and I have to write it off as being purely politics.
Big story here in Washington, D.C., that Sean Spicer asked his communications team, okay, come on in, everybody. Put your phone right over there. We have a leaker here. We're going to have the White House lawyer look at your phones. How intent are you on finding who the leaker or leakers are in your administration? Not just your communications team, but over the State Department, maybe the intel community, everywhere.
Well, first of all, Sean Spicer is a fine human being. He's a fine person. I would have done it differently. I would have gone one-on-one with different people. And we don't have a major leak process here. We have a major leak process in government. But I would have handled it differently than Sean, but Sean handles it his way, and I'm okay with it. Yeah, you don't want to have
Did they
leaks.
figure out who the leaker was?
We have sort of ideas, but don't forget, we have people from other campaigns. We have people from other governments. We've got a lot of people here.
So you wish you didn't do it that way?
I would have done it differently.
How would you have done it?
I would have brought one-on-one. I would have had one-on-one sessions
"Let me
with
see your
different people. I might have done that. I mean, you know, there are things you can do that are a hell of a lot worse than that, I'll be honest with you. But I think I would have done it differently. But, you know, he's done a very good job, and that's the way he chose to do it.